Hey guys, welcome to the Expect Success podcast, where we highlight real estate as an investment and speak to professionals who make it happen every day. Today, I'm joined by Linda Holtz. She has an amazing story. I would love for you guys to get to know her, know more about her background, her passion, and her projects that her and her husband work on together. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Linda to introduce herself.
Yes, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Hi, Eric. I'm so excited to be on. So thank you again for inviting me. I love the name of your podcast. I think it's very clever.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, my name is Linda Holtz. I'm from Married to Real Estate. I founded the company with my husband, hence the name. And we do commercial real estate investing. So I don't know if you want me to go straight into a little bit of my story. Basically, I came from France 13 years ago, but it feels like 1,000. And at the time I was finishing my master's degree. I ended up working in sales, door to door sales. That was fun for 2 to 3 years, something like that. And eventually, so I traveled all over the East Coast, actually lived a little bit in Texas, and then eventually found my way to Chicago. And that's where I started my property management company. Well, my property management career, sorry. And so from there on, that was 2015. Yeah, that was 10 years ago. And in 2020 is when we started investing with my husband. We bought our first triplex, and the rest is history. Now we do big commercial deals, I guess.
Okay. All right, that's a nice way to wrap it up. That the rest is history, but that's not it. There are a lot of gaps between what you explained and what's actually going on. So let's dive a little deeper into that. You did mention that you were in sales, door to door sales, brutal, the most brutal sales probably there is, and also property management. So what is it about those experiences that you saw something that led you to get on the path that you're on now?
Yeah, so life just has a funny way of getting your back. It's very funny. So, I think I got into sales because my dad is a salesman. He's been a salesman my whole life. I've never really known anything. So for me, when I was like when I turned 18, I guess I was gonna say a teenager, but when I was legal enough to work, that was like the first job that I ever got into. And I did all types of sales, by the way. Here in America, I did door to door, and I did fundraising for charity on the street. So that was fun too.
Hmm.
But back home, I worked in malls. I did phone sales. I worked on campuses. That was a cool experience too for a couple of summers in a row. And so I kind of tried all kinds of different things. And so eventually, when I found my way into property management, there was a part of me that I thought like that was it. Like I would never really go back to that. And I had learned so much. Like my 2 years in like sales, I was in door to door specifically. I would say like that was more information about myself and about the world that any kind of degree that I have, any kind of higher education. I mean, I'm not saying, once you graduate high school, get into door to door, but if you can do that and higher education at the same time, like you will power through anything that you need to learn in the world about yourself, about people in general. And so for me, I thought that was it, but I still have very good memories of it. Like, yes, it wasn't fun every day, but in a roundabout way, I ended up like starting to invest, and now I found myself to commercial real estate. And my current role is a lot related to sales in a way. I work with investors. It's a lot of of education with investors, a lot of like, not convincing them because I don't like to convince people, but more so like showing people opportunities. And then if they want it or not is up to them. But bottom line is sales, right? It's like selling your brand, selling your personality, selling the projects that you're working on. And so that's why I say life has an interesting way of getting you back in a roundabout ways, because it almost feels like I've always been in sales. I just had to take like this quick 10-year detour through property management to get right back to real estate. And here we are.
Absolutely. You're right, because sales will definitely, like you said, teach you about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, where you need to improve in terms of communication, having conversations, just communicating in general. So that I 100% agree with that. Now, going through something tough like that at a young age, or just starting off, that being your first introduction to the workforce, definitely sharpened you and hardened you to have better conversation, but also softened you to be more empathetic, to have conversation
Yes.
with people and understand their stories. Because yes, capital raising, deal, matching people with deals, investing, it is sales. And it is part of sales is always educating. So we're educating on people, not on why you need to have it, but how it fits in your life and your story. Sometimes it doesn't. You learn that
Yep.
through the conversation. Now, I did want to jump into with you have shared insight before about how you founded your company, M2RE, Married to Real Estate, with your husband Connor, and you have it on your website. You did mention that on your website as well. And I wanted to know, how did your partnership with your husband start out? Did it start out prior to real estate, during real estate, and did you both have the same vision, or was it kind of a melding of the visions together?
So it's funny you ask that question because I like to say that real estate was always like this third wheel between us.
Hopefully, it still
So
is. Hopefully, it still is.
definitely. So even before we built a business around it, I actually, when people ask us how did you meet, I always like to joke. I mean joke, but it's true. I met my mother-in-law, in Cancun on a girls' trip to Mexico.
Oh, okay.
And so she's been a property manager for decades. My sister-in-law has been in property management as well. My husband had worked in property management. Before property management, my mother-in-law was actually in new development. So like real estate is just like a family business at this point. And so when I met her, it was definitely one of those moments where it's like, hey, you should meet my son. And it worked out. It doesn't always, but this time it worked out. And maybe about a year into dating, I knew that I wanted at that point to own something, and I really had no clue that it would take me on to like down this path of investing, basically taking over our future, right? At least our financial future. And for me, it was just a matter of my grandparents had always owned their home, but my parents didn't. So I just had in the back of my mind that I want to at least own where I live. And so that's what I was looking for. But like I mentioned, at the time I was a property manager. So I had a mentor of mine, one of my maintenance guys, who told me, hey, I can introduce you to someone who is also a woman, also from Europe, and a realtor and an investor. So she can help you find a home, but she will help you find it with that investor mentality so that you set yourself up in the right way. And so that first triplex, I was actually the one to like find it and close on it. But it turned out that we closed on it in January 2020. And so, as everybody knows, that was a very interesting part of history. And it was that time in our relationship where we had been together for a little bit and we were like, okay, let's try living together. I'm moving into this house. Why don't you come move in with me? And because it's a triplex, we'll try our hand at being landlords because it was a house hack. So it was like, we'll live in the middle. We'll have tenants above and under us, and we'll kind of figure out if it works. And we did not expect that the world was going to end 2 months after deciding to do that. But it did. And that property really put us through the ringer. And it was definitely a situation where it was like, we're going to make it or we're going to break it. And we made it. And eventually we realized, okay, this is what we want to do. This is where, this is our plan for our family, but there's got to be a better way. Like it was, the property was great. We had great tenants. We made a profit. Everything was fine on that end. But then we also had not so good tenants, and we also learned a lot about ourselves and rehab projects and how to take care of tenants and how to go through purchase and selling, by the way. And so eventually we found our way down to Texas because we were like, we know that this is the a state with more opportunities, especially in real estate, but we just got to find a way to do it better. And that's when we found commercial real estate. That's when we found multifamily. And at that point, we were all in. And that's when the business was started.
Wow, you dropped a lot of nuggets in there, because having a job is one thing, be having an investment property is another, being a property manager is one thing, and being a landlord, hands-on landlord, is something totally different as well. So,
Oh my God.
you know, so you've gone through all of the steps as far as being a hands-on live-in landlord and property
Yes.
manager to now investor, where that's hopefully removed at least by a few steps for good reason. And I actually wanted to ask you too is so fast forward, you guys co-founded Married to Real Estate and start off with the triplex. And was that under the business, which I'll say that's a separate part of the question? And then you just kind of took off. Your success just springboarded and took off. And I know for you, it probably doesn't feel like that, but at the same time, it probably felt like that because it happened really quickly. So just tell me, what was it that caused you to go from that investment that you lived in to springboarding your success? What was the driving force behind that?
Yes. So to answer the first question, no, it was not. We were not in a business at the time. So what happened was we had that triplex. We decided to sell it to come down here, and we knew that we wanted to continue investing once we got to Houston, which is where we are now. But when we got to Houston, we realized that it's not the same in terms of city. It's not the same setup as Chicago, where there's not as many triplexes and quads, and that's really where we thought our bread and butter was going to be. So actually, a very quick nugget that I don't always share because I'm trying to like condense it a little bit, but we actually looked into doing rent by the room investments. So like you
Okay.
buy one house, but you buy it big enough that you can do 5, 6, 7, 8 bedrooms, and it's all different leases, right? So we thought about doing that, and that because it was harder to find residential multifamily, and that kind of planted the idea in our mind of like having multiple people in the same place. Now, eventually, we decided to do multifamily, and it's funny because you say, it kind of happened like that, but oh boy, for me, really the first year, I would say, and I say first year, but at this point, we've been in it a year and a half. It was a lot of battling almost myself mentally, right? Like thinking, hey, I'm racing with everybody else. Like we joined a mastermind, and it's like everyone in our group, outside our group, people who have 10 years experience, people who are just starting. It's on. And it really took me many months to realize, no, you only like racing with your own self. As long as you back in my sales days, we used to say pop, progress over perfection. As long as you're becoming a little bit better in your own body, business, whatever, every single day, then that's good enough. And the rest will come. As long as you focus on the effort, like my coach says, the results are bound to happen. And so for me, it doesn't feel like it just happened because it took months of really like convincing myself it will happen. Just hang in there, just focus on the efforts. You're not racing with anyone. Just wait for what's yours, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that kind of answers the next question, but I still want to ask it to see if we get more clarity on it. Joining a mastermind, investing in yourself and your education is awesome. Anyone who's, I say, thinking about going to school, getting out of school, going into the job force, if they know the path they want to go on, even if they don't, I would say invest in yourself and your education, which you clearly did. And you said the first year was a little bit of a struggle. You were doing it, you were already in real estate and you were making moves, and now it felt like a step back. And you were leveling up. It may have felt like you were stepping out of your league, because I know that's where I felt, and definitely the mindset of seeing other people that are just, this is happening, your own calls, they're making deals, this person is analyzing properties, and like, man, I'm trying to, it's not clicking. So what was that
Yes.
milestone for you where it clicked and then took off?
Ooh, I don't even know if there was one. Well, okay, so let's see if that answers your question. But I'm very big on networking, right? That's kind of how we met. And
Cool.
so again, for months it was like focus on the steps, right? But also focus on helping people, focus on meeting as many players as you can, and all like doing all kinds of things. If anything, for self-education, right? Like you might meet somebody tomorrow who does an asset type that you had never thought of. But also to kind of add value. Like one of my very big belief is that if we can all help just one person, then the world will be a better place, right? And if that person doesn't have to help you back, but if we all do just one at a time, like don't try and change the world, just help one individual. And so for me, I really had that mindset, always trying to network and add value however I could. And I don't even really like to say add value because that's such a buzzword right now, but that's really what it is, right? Like it's like find a way to help. And um and so by doing that, eventually we ended up working with teams, like being introduced to teams who were like, hey, we will take you on for the ride because we see your effort, basically. So that's why I say I don't know if it was one thing or one event or one moment, but it really like compounded. And by doing the networking side and being introduced to the right people, that's really how our first two deals happened, our first two GP deals, because we had LP before.
Okay, no, that definitely answers the question, and that's something that is a little scary for people in a new space, is stepping out and meeting people, feeling like you don't belong in the room. When you get in the room, though, you learn very quickly that most people are very accommodating, very willing to help, and we all love real estate, so they're very easy to talk to you and open up to you. It's not like a closed off secret. Like, no, I can't tell you. They love telling everyone. So, and we grow as a community. That's definitely been my same experience as well. And
Absolutely.
you, yeah, you did mention something that again flows the conversation very nicely, because your mission at Married to Real Estate centers around helping busy professionals by getting generational wealth through passive investing. So, can you just give us a guide or walk through what that looks like in your practice?
Yeah, so for me, the funniest story is that I actually knew about syndications back when we were investing on the residential side, but I just always thought like, oh, this is for millionaires, right? Like I mentioned that when I was doing door-to-door sales, I briefly lived in Texas at the time. And so I had been exposed to those big apartment complexes with the pool and the gym and the dog park and all that. And I remember thinking, so back then I had the maintenance man lived on site. And so seeing him live on site is what it was the first thing that kind of sparked my interest. Like, oh my gosh, if I could own this, like maybe let's say 100 units, right? Like it doesn't have to be huge, but if I own it and I live here, then that's it. Like you don't really need a job. You just in my mind, I was like, I'm just gonna buy this 100 unit by myself and run it by myself, and whatever profit I will live off of, because I you don't need housing, and that will be it. So of course that's not how it happens, but right now we do bigger deals, but even at 100, even at 60 units, you definitely need a team. but uh but yeah, it that was kind of like the mindset of, hey, this is possible, this is doable, um but you really have to have like a lot of money. And so for me, when I was actually exposed to syndication, I thought it was the same thing. I thought like, oh yeah, this is a great way for people to get on together, but you have to have some sort of, like, I knew about the word accredited, and I thought it meant like, I don't know, you have to pass a test or something. And so now, fast forward to answer your question, my mission is really to show people that no, it's actually not that bad. You don't need that much money. Accredited only is based on either your income or your net worth, so it's not like this big scary test. And that's really what I want to do, is show people, as many as I can, hey, don't be like me. Don't think that you can't do it because it turns out that you can. Don't think that you have to be a billionaire, because you do not have to do that. And also don't think that you have to be a landlord, because I was a landlord and it wasn't as glamorous as Instagram tells you. And there's a better way. And so that's what I try to do now, through Married to Real Estate, is just show people there's a better way, and it's not as hard as you think.
Now, I want to correct you just a little bit. I don't mean that in the bad way. You said, don't be like you and think you can't do this. Everything you've been saying is you look at something and say, I can absolutely do this. And then you figure
Yes.
out how to do it while doing it. So you need to make sure you own up to that and live that and get the credit for that. Uh,
Thank
now,
you.
absolutely. Now, with the business itself, I'm sure you talk to a lot of newer investors, and we're going to circle back to the beginning. We're talking about sales and helping people get them educated on something rather than selling them. Now, with working with new investors or partners, how do you get them comfortable with the idea of multifamily investing, especially if they're coming from like a traditional background investment sector?
Correct. So number one, I would say the simple fact that everybody's always going to need housing, right? That's like a basic need of humans. You can't do without, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that you can do without a job probably, or without clothes, right? But you're going to need shelter somehow. Even if it ends up being a cave, somebody will have to help you dig through the rock. So that's definitely one thing. And then the second part that goes along with that is that I don't try to force people like, hey, if you want to do stocks, if you want to do Bitcoin, if you want to do oil and gas, that's fine. Just diversify. Like at the end of the day, I think it's very important to not put all your eggs in one basket. Like for me, I don't do crypto because I don't understand it. But I do a little bit of stocks. I do other things too. I'm a big proponent of income streams. So yes, my biggest income stream comes from multifamily, but don't only do that. So that's my way of like showing people, hey, this is why this is an asset that you should look at, is because number one, everyone will always need it. And number two, even if you are doing other things, it's fine. You don't have to choose.
That then that makes sense. And that's one of the things when I speak to investors and other people I work with too, is, and especially from doing the podcast, I've learned diversify your portfolio, but also diversify it within real estate, because there are different asset classes, and I'm learning more and more about them. The ones that I never looked at, never thought about, like RV parks, mobile home parks, whatever the
Yes.
case may be. And there are so many ways to do it within. So same conversation, break up your investments into different sectors, but it can be sections within those sections as well to diversify. Okay, great. We already know you're big on education, whether it be traditional or self education, and through social media, speaking, and networking calls, to which you do host a networking event once a week. Definitely want to put that out there. What inspired you to start sharing your journey publicly and connect with others through their stories as well.
Oh, well, if I can give a plug, it was definitely my coaches. I mean, going back to the self education, um, I mean, I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but don't just read books. Don't just hang out on YouTube University. Investing in yourself, you're going to have to spend some money. And whether you spend money in a group coaching, right, like a mastermind, or, going to networking events when you can actually interact with people, or you do that one-on-one, that almost doesn't matter. That's up to your personality, but surround yourself by people who have an outside perspective. My husband always joked because I have a performance coach, and sometimes he tells me things, and then when I tell my husband, like, oh, this is what he said, my husband always says, oh, thank God he can say it because I can't. And I think that it's really important to surround yourself with people who can tell you, like, hey, here you have this limiting belief, or you have this, like, this is what you should look into. And the reason I like coaching is because you don't want to force anybody, like, hey, do this and only this. Like, all my coaches, they're more like, this is what I'm doing, or this is what I heard, and I thought of you because of XYZ. The rest is up to you. And I think that is super important when you want to dig deep into education, is like, really go inward, really go back to, like the reason why I have a performance coach is because he's helped me uncover some things that date back to childhood. And it's like you, if you want to live to your full potential, you're going to have to go to that level of, okay, who am I as a person? What are my core values? What do I stand for? What am I interested in? Like you were talking about asset types. For me, I really want to get into assisted living facilities because that's something that I've been exposed to, that I'm interested in. I'm not particularly interested in industrial, for example. A lot of people are doing that right now. I'm sure it's very lucrative, but that's not an interest of mine. And so all of those things to me are part of education, is knowing yourself, knowing, like, educate yourself on what's out there. Do that through talking to people, but also learn who you are on the inside. Don't do things that are gonna, like, keep you up at night. I
Yes,
always like to
absolutely.
say that. Don't do things that are gonna keep you up at night. And then once you know who you are, to answer your question about sharing your story, again, I had got to give props back to my coaches, because they're the ones who helped me realize people cannot connect if they don't know who you are. So once you know who that is, then put it out there. You only connect to people because they tell you who they are, and you're like, oh, I like that person, let me stay in touch. Like you and I joked the other day that we both kind of thought of each other around the same time, and we kind of both followed up with each other around the same time without even realizing. And it's like, you're not going to do that with somebody who's never told you anything about themselves. And so that to me, that was a turning point when I realized it's true. If I want to connect with people, I have to tell them who I am once I know.
And you do it in a very good way, because we've all been in networking meetings where it's very mechanical and robotic, and it's not personal. It's not very personable at all. It's dry. It's uncomfortable. But when you actually get to just have a conversation and you talk about what you love to do, it's so much better than an elevator pitch. And that's what drew me to you. Again, your energy and how you tell your story, and how it just comes across as such a part of your innate personality. It's not just selling something. It's, what is she doing and how can I be a part of it? That's, and
Aw, thank you, thank you.
of course, of course. Now, here's the thing too, with your meetup, plug that a little bit more. You have a weekly meeting, so let's plug that and let people know how to be a part of that.
Yeah, so for sure. So what happened was, again, don't be my best advice that I can give out there is do the thing, right? Like I think the greatest slogan of all time is Nike. Just do it. And so for me, the way it happened, I had a friend within my mastermind who had created this weekly meetup, but he was getting a little too busy for it, and I just offered, coming from a place of wanting to help. He was like, I'm done with it, and I was like, well, if you want, I can take it over temporarily, and I'm not trying to steal it. You can have it back in 2, 3, 4 months, just to help you out. And and he said, no, I'm done, but you can take it over if you want. And so that's how I ended up taking over this meetup. It's every Thursday. It's at 11 Central, so noon Eastern. And it's really meant for anybody in the commercial real estate space. It doesn't matter if you're an LP limited partner, if you're a GP general partner, if you're seasoned, if you're new, if you're a service provider. We get a lot of service providers too. The goal is for an hour once a week, we get together, we talk about what we're working on. The way it's structured, we like to play a lot of music with my co-host, but the goal is to put everyone into like little breakout rooms, so you have a little bit more like privacy, I guess, to interact with each other. And typically we have time to do three or four breakout rooms, and people get to meet each other like that. And that's our goal. We also have a Facebook group because we always tell everyone, you're not going to do deals with somebody by meeting them 1 hour a week. You have to take the conversations outside. Like, I'm very big on LinkedIn, but same thing. Whatever social media you use or anything, take the conversation in person, take the conversation in Zoom, take the conversation on the phone, and just make sure that if you're going to build big things with people, if you're going to partner on projects together, you have to know each other. And for that, you have to spend time together. So that's the goal of the meetup.
Oh, absolutely. That's amazing. And that's exactly what it is, because I've been more active on LinkedIn and through networking as well. And one of my goals is to get on the call with at least 3 to 5 people a week from LinkedIn. And I got on a call with a commercial painter. I didn't see any value that I could get from a commercial painter, but I want to connect. I want to see. And immediately he started talking about property owners that he works for, that he's done work for. They're run down. They seem to be neglecting. They might want to exit. I'm like, that's what I want to talk to. And you get these small wins or big wins in the most unknown places. Sometimes it's all just by talking to people, being open and receptive, and also willing to add value where you can too. Because I know one of the things I do too, if I hear something, I have a list of people I talk to. I'll start sending it off like, hey, I think this might fit what you're working on. If not, let me know. So I try and do that as often as possible. That way, again, we can keep that relationship going in a positive way. I did want to
Absolutely.
ask you, what's next for M2R8? What is next in 2025 and beyond? Are there any specific exciting projects and partnerships or personal goals that are on the horizon for you guys? And caveat before that, you have glossed over the growth. So give us a quick rundown of how you went from, you said you started working on 2 deals once you joined the mastermind. You went through a year and you got 1 deal, started quickly working on two. Walk us back a little bit, tell us how that happened, and let us know what's ahead for the future, if you don't mind.
For sure. So yes, it was 100% through partnerships and just getting to know people out there that those deals came to us. So and also like consistency, right? Like show up. Just be yourself out there and people will notice. Like a big thing that I realized, and I'll give you an example. One of the deals that we on right now, we had been networking with that team. They're local to us, so we had seen them on Zooms and in person for months. And eventually, I ended up doing an online challenge for a week with somebody from the team, and she just saw me there. And I was very active in that challenge. It was a very cool challenge. So I was like super pumped and like, really like sharing my stories or like, getting kind of featured with things that I was doing because I was really taking actions. Like that's the best thing is like really put yourself out there, but by doing things, don't put yourself out there to do nothing. People will notice that too at some point if you're just hanging around, not doing anything. And so because I was so like participating so highly during that challenge, she's the one who brought me on and was like, "Hey, we're working on a deal. We've known you guys for months. Come work with us because we see like how dedicated and consistent you are." So that was the first deal that we found. And by the way, that deal actually did not go through, but they ended up working on another one. And so that other one is what we closed on with them. So it was definitely a situation where it was like, yeah, we stuck around. We showed like, even once we were on the first deal that did not go through, we showed like, hey, we're here for the long run. We're here to add value and help however we can and learn however we can. And people will see that. People will respond to that. Funny story, right now we're working, maybe I'm jumping a little bit, but right now we're working on our next project. And I reached out to that person and I was like, hey, do you want to come work with us? And that person was like, I'm doing something right now, but what I'm doing doesn't fit the bill for some of my investors. How about I send them your way? And like you see, even though it's a completely different deal, completely different time, those relationships are here to last. If you really put your best foot forward, genuinely, by the way, don't try to become somebody else, then those relationships will carry you on for a very long time. And then that second deal, same thing. And even the LP that we did, by the way, it all came from relationships that we really cultivated. We just showed up. We were just ourselves, and eventually those people were like, "Hey, we're doing this or we're doing that, or let me introduce you to so and so," and eventually led to deals. So now we did an LP first, then we did those two GPs that coincidentally ended up closing within 60 days of each other. So
Oh
it,
my
it made
goodness.
us look to the world like like we were on fire.
Yes.
And now we are doing our next one, which is coming up, and we're super excited about it. So that one is going to be something different. It's going to be a new construction. So we're going to build like a class A because it's brand new. So again, don't close yourself off to certain asset types or anything like that. For us, it's a new challenge to see something different. And then after that, on the long run, like I said, assisted living facilities is something that has my heart. Boutique hotels is something that is on the horizon that my husband is interested in. And very, very long term, well, very long, somewhat long term, I would also love to start buying businesses as well.
That's cool to see because it sounds like a lot of people that are in the same space are on similar journeys. I've been looking for the last 5 months about buying a business as well, but I don't want to buy myself a job and pull myself from full time real estate investing, which I've been doing for 7 months now. So I don't want to do anything that's going to take from that, but add to it. And I've also been looking into residential assisted living because with my background a little bit, one of them was a homeless shelter for veterans that was for profit, and
Yes.
it ended up not working out because of state assistance, but that really showed that you can invest and have your heart in it as well. Now, with that being
Yes.
said, I want to remove some of my emotions because it was emotionally taxing, driving these guys to see their families to the bank and for breakfast sometimes, but it got a little emotionally taxing. But I want to apply that same energy to another sector that needs help. And now we know the golden age, the golden tsunami is coming. So I definitely want to be a part of that in a productive way. So that's awesome. One thing I did skip over, Linda, I want to see if we could step back just a little bit. You mentioned that with the continuing education theme, you recently became part of John Maxwell Certified, which congrats, by the way,
Yes.
on that.
Thank
So
you.
I did absolutely, I didn't want to gloss over that. So let us know how that is actually going to work into your game plan for the future. Like, where do you see the leadership training going, and how do you plan on incorporating it in your business and continue to grow?
Yes, so that one came to us again with the importance of education. My husband and I did a public speaking class last summer. We connected with some very great coaches of ours who are John Maxwell certified and really told us about the program. Really kind of, I don't want to say sold us on it, but explained what it was, and our interest was piqued, and I decided that I would get certified first, and now my husband is supposed to do it next. But for us, it was very much one of those moments where it's like, when you trust somebody and they tell you, hey, you should give this a try, and you're like, yeah, sure, why not? And then you go and you're like, oh wow, like this is actually like amazing, and I didn't realize how great it was going to be. That was definitely the feeling with me with John Maxwell, where we the certification is a 3-day conference that you go to. So I just went to that last week, and so being there in the environment with everyone else being certified, but also all the alums coming back over the years, because they've been doing it for I think 10 or 15 years. So it was just like an electric environment of like-minded people who are all entrepreneurs, who are all trying to like develop different streams of income, but really in a way that empowers the community. And for me, that's what I love. That's what I really got from our coaches, that we're now trying to work with them on building that, is that everything we learn we want to give back. We actually all came from the same mastermind, and we saw things that we thought could be improved. And so now we really want to try to kind of help the next generation by becoming certified, so that we know we're equipped on how to coach them, how to help them, and how to train them. And so that's the beauty of that, is like it has opened this whole new page where now I'm like looking into like potentially releasing a course and all of that. And yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's also like it also got me certified as a speaker. So that's going to be great for speaking engagement, because if I can do another plug, my very good friend Alison Weiss, she created a platform this past year called Women Speak Cree, and it's just a way to empower more women to do more speaking engagement in the commercial real estate space, because typically it's not a big percentage of ladies who speak at conferences or networking events. And so she literally created the platform to be able to like bridge that gap. And so thanks to that certification, I was able to book my first gig with through the platform, and I'm very excited about that. And so it's all those things where it's like the bottom line is give back to the community. One thing that our coaches tell us about all the time is, okay, you want to achieve financial freedom, you want to quit your job, you want to like live on a yacht, but then one day you're going to have all those things, you're going to wake up and you'll have nothing to do, and then what? And I don't want that to happen for me. I don't want that feeling of like, okay, maybe you're not at the top, but you're pretty high and you're not doing anything with your life. And so I think that you cure that with impacting the community and giving back to the community, and that's where the certification came from. So I'm super excited for it.
Awesome. That was the best answer. And you kind of left that part out when we said what's next and what you're still looking forward to for the future. You left that part out. But I want to sum it up because what from our conversation and what I heard is it doesn't matter what background you come from. It doesn't matter what you look like, what your gender is. What matters is your heart being in the right place, being
Yes.
open and honest with yourself about who you are and continuing to grow, whether it be through
Hmm.
education, personal growth, and you can succeed. You can succeed. None of those factors hold you back. As a matter of fact, most of them are because they are who you are inherently. They're going to push you forward and continue to make help you drive. So
Yes, and I'm so glad you said that, because one thing that that I think is very important to, if it could be like the last word or something, if you remember anything from this episode, is just be yourself, because that's what you're gonna be best at. Like when I say, hey, nurture relationships and network and meet people and educate, the whole point of being yourself when you do that is that nobody else can be you. And nobody else, like if you want to write a book, nobody else can write the book the way that you say it. If you want to tell your story on a podcast or on stage, nobody else has that same story to tell, or at least not the same exact way. And I think it's super super important, is like, just embrace who you are, because that's your best skill. That's where you're going to be amazing. And yes, sometimes we want to do things where we're like, I may not be the best, but I'll learn. Okay, that's great. But trust me, when you lean in on the things that you're good at, it's even better. Hard work always beats talent, but if you can have both, why not?
absolutely, absolutely. I'm so surprised you weren't already certified as a public speaker because you sound like one for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I definitely appreciate your time. And I know one thing, when you tell a story like the way, like yours and the way you do, I know people are naturally going to want to follow. So how can people best follow you, connect with you, and see where you guys are going in your journey?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that. So the meetup is every Thursday at noon Central. I'm very noon Eastern, sorry, 11 Central. I'm very big on LinkedIn, Linda Holtz. So if you find me there, feel free to DM me. I every week I plug the call, so you will also see the registration link there if you want to participate. And then our website is marriedtorealestate.com, with is number two. So it's married number two realestate.com. And that's also my email. So Linda at married number two realestate.com if you want to send me any message. I'm super excited to connect with anyone out there who needs help, or just want to talk shop, or just connect.
All right. We definitely appreciate that. And I want everyone to know that Linda is very serious. That is what she likes to do. We had our first
Yes.
call and we just connected. It wasn't about selling anything, or it was just, man, that's exciting. You're working on this. That's cool to hear. And the conversation has progressed from there, obviously, to this. So definitely take her up on it and follow her, because I know a lot more exciting things are going to come. Now, anything
Thank
else you want
you.
to say, closing, Linda? Absolutely.
Well, I just want to thank you again for having me on. I hope this was helpful to anyone out there. And yeah, I had a great time. So thank you again for having this platform. And I look forward to like rewatching the episode again.
Awesome. Thank you. And everyone listening, remember, with consistent action and a game plan, you too can expect success. Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you.